Robin, an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you very much for joining us. I really want to just take a few moments to really talk about the human aspects of security, as I know that this is something that you've got some first-hand experience of, and it's one of the things that motivated you to get into this industry in the first place. Perhaps if you wouldn't mind just sort of starting explaining how you got here, really, how you got into this industry, that'd be really helpful.
Well, first of all, thank you for including me. It's such an honor. I really enjoy, as you know, talking about the human factor side of cybersecurity, as I think it's a huge hot topic right now, and I feel very lucky to be studying it and doing the research that I've been doing. But as you said, just how I jumped from one career into cybersecurity career. I had a pretty successful business back in the States and had built a brand, and we were on a pretty exciting path. And I had an internal hack, which was sort of the beginning of the end of my operation. And as you and I discussed, it's not just the internal issues, and it's what that mentally can do to you as a business owner. Just it pulls out a lot of your self assurance, your where you think you know things, and you begin to have some self-doubt, right, about how this could have happened. You know, what if, why did I allow this to happen? Why was I not paying attention? But there are so many facets of running a business that there's just no way that you can keep your eye on everything. There's got to be levels of trust that you put in people. And as we know, on the human side of things, there's basically, when it comes to internal issues, and I don't like to call things internal threats. In my research, I just call them human factors, because there are errors, there are credential issues, there is social engineering, and there's also maliciousness. Mine happened to be malicious. But once I closed the business and I decided I really wanted to figure out what had happened and how I could parlay this into an experience where I could help others possibly avoid what I had gone through. And so I went and got my master's in information security and specialized in the human factor side. So.
Do you think that enough of an emphasis is put on, the human-centric side of security? I probably don't think there isn't. I think there's often an emphasis on flashing lights and not enough emphasis on the actual the people sometimes involved. And I think, what do you think?
So in research, it is a proven fact that, well, let me back up. We've got people, process, and technologies, correct? We spend a lot of money on the technology and processes, and we're not investing a congruent amount in the people and the human side of things. And in healthcare, I made a post about this the other day. As in healthcare, they say we've got to, from board to ward, protect the institution because it's all made of people. So sometimes to me, it seems so simple. But if it was so simple, why aren't we addressing things in our industry the way we need to? I see a tiny bit of a shift, I think. It could be because it's all I focus on. So I read all the articles and I see the data, and I hear what people are talking about. And in a lot of your other interviews, people have talked about what we need to be doing to address this issue. It's critical because the internal issues are rising every year. So it doesn't matter how many flashing lights and widgets we bring in. It's not going to change the fact if we don't address the root of the problem.
And what do you think the pandemic has meant to this? We've seen some trends. We've definitely seen some trends from this side of changes of attitudes towards human-centric threats. But I want to get your opinion on that.
Well, we weren't ready, were we?
No.
And remote working, and I was talking to another research think tank, and what are the ramifications of COVID and the remote working? And it's going to take us a while to really figure it all out.
Mm-hmm.
But now more than ever, one thing that I do know, and that I talked to some of my colleagues about, is that if we can go in and personalize with your employees, with your staff, everywhere, from the CEO down to your student intern, right? Everybody. If we can indoctrinate cyber safety, cybersecurity from a personal basis, from my personal phone, my children, my home computer, when people have a buy-in personally, they tend to then own it more, if that makes sense, when they go into their organization. If they understand what they're protecting and their place in protecting those assets, that I am just as valuable as if I ignore a patch, if I ignore, and if I quickly go through and hit a phishing email, right, that it could damage the organization. Now, I will say that one person clicking on a phishing email at a lower level staff should not take down a whole entire company. So, that's another issue.